Hey everyone, this is weather forecaster Liam, and we have a possible major Category 3 hurricane named Laura that could be making U.S. landfall in just a little over 24 hours from now. And Laura could bring over 125 mile per hour wind gusts, over 12 feet of storm surge, and over a foot of rainfall to parts of Louisiana and Texas. I'm going to have the very latest on Laura, including the latest update from the National Hurricane Center, models, timing, track, and much more. All of this is coming up right here on TRA Weather. Today is August 25th, 2020. Starting off with the National Weather Service hazards map, and quite an active hazards map I may add, with extreme wildfires and smoke across the west, hot conditions across the plains, severe weather in the northeast, and all of the tropical hazards in the south, in Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas, as currently Category 1 Hurricane Laura plans its landfall there as possibly a major hurricane. In fact, we already have hurricane warnings issued for southwestern Louisiana and eastern Texas, as hurricane conditions can be expected within the next 24 hours. And before we really get into this video, I do want to say I will be going live tomorrow with hurricane coverage on Hurricane Laura, bringing you the very latest live video, radar, forecast track, and more. So now over to the graphical tropical weather outlook for portions of the central and northern Atlantic. Now thankfully, besides Hurricane Laura over there in the Gulf of Mexico, we have no other hurricanes, tropical storms, depressions, or even any areas of interest, which is very good news. Though we're definitely keeping an eye on Hurricane Laura, as it is expected to be a major hurricane upon U.S. landfall. And you can see those hurricane warnings shaded in red, those tropical storm warnings shaded in blue, and those hurricane watches shaded in light pink. Now this is the very latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center as of 4 p.m. Central Time, August 25th, 2020. Now this advisory has maximum sustained winds of 80 miles per hour for Laura, and its movement is west by northwest at 17 miles an hour, going pretty fast for either a hurricane or a tropical storm. You can see by 1 p.m. Wednesday, tomorrow afternoon, it's going to be very close to Louisiana and Texas, and by very late Wednesday night, going into very early Thursday morning, is expected to make landfall on either southwestern Louisiana or southeastern Texas. Now the models have been shifting this over further to the west, more towards the eastern Texas coast rather than the southwestern Louisiana coast, mainly because of a giant high pressure system over portions of the Atlantic. I'll get into that in just a second. Though because this storm is moving so fast, hurricane strength is going to stick around rather far inland. You can see into some portions of northwestern Louisiana, that's where it's expected to be by Thursday afternoon, still at hurricane strength. So I'm not exactly looking at a major flood threat, though we do have areas that could see over a foot of rainfall. Gonna really have to watch the wind speed with this storm, because if this hurricane does happen to move even further westward, there's even warmer water there, and it'll take longer for it to get to the U.S. mainland, which will allow it to strengthen even more, could be dealing with an even stronger hurricane at the end of the day. Now over to the latest satellite imagery of Hurricane Laura, where you can see some very deep convection going on, those bright whites and pinks showing up, indicating some very strong thunderstorms just to the southern and eastern sides of the center of circulation for Hurricane Laura. Now what we don't see is an eye wall, and I don't think we will until tomorrow afternoon at the earliest, and that is when I think we're going to get under some pretty rapid intensification, as we will have really no wind shear and extremely warm ocean temperatures near 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So pretty much nothing holding this storm back besides some dry air, but I honestly don't think that will impact Laura much, if at all. And as you see, as I go on over to the Western Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico sea surface temperatures, they are just extremely warm and above average for this time of the year, near 32 degrees Celsius. That is almost 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So plenty warm for Hurricane Laura to strengthen, and also not much wind shear out there at all, so nothing is really holding back Laura from rapidly intensifying over the next 24 hours. So what is making Laura move to the northwest? Well, Laura is located right around there, and we have a giant area of high pressure located over the western Atlantic. Now, it was originally thought by the models that it would be making landfall in south central Louisiana. That is the least likely option at this time. It is more likely that the high pressure is a little stronger than the models originally thought it would be, and Laura will make landfall in southeastern Texas. Now, we don't really want that because A, it'll go over even warmer ocean temperatures, and B, it'll take longer to make landfall in the United States, allowing for Laura to strengthen even more, possibly even to Category 4 strength. Really hoping that does not happen, though it's definitely a possibility. Now going forward to the tropical storm force wind speed probabilities from the National Hurricane Center. And you see southwestern Louisiana and southeastern Texas have a near 100% chance of seeing tropical storm force winds. Even outside of those states, in Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Mississippi, your chances too of seeing tropical storm force winds are pretty decent at around 50 to 70%. Now over to hurricane force wind speed probabilities. Southwestern Louisiana and southeastern Texas have around a 50 to 60% chance of seeing hurricane force wind speeds, with that chance increasing with every update the National Hurricane Center gives out. Now over to the peak storm surge forecast, where you can see there's an insane amount of storm surge expected in south central and southwestern Louisiana, between 7 and 13 feet storm surge. Now that is just really phenomenal, and places like Intercoastal City, Morgan City, Sea Rim State Park, you're really going to have to watch Hurricane Laura, because that much storm surge is going to cause problems if you live close to the coast. And because southeastern Texas and southern Louisiana is actually below sea level, that storm surge is going to make its way inland much easier than it would in other places. Now over to the hurricane intensity models, and this is for Laura. Now the highest intensity model is the COTI model, and the lowest intensity model is the CEMI. But you see, most of the models are in agreement in having a Category 2 storm at least. There's a few that go to the Category 3 strength, even to Category 4, but most of them stay above Category 1. Now, the models have been going back and forth between Category 3 and Category 2, but I do believe at the end of the day, we will be dealing with a major hurricane at Category 3 status. So exactly how much rain could we expect from Hurricane Laura? Well, starting off with the GFS model, for now and until Saturday, we could see anywhere between 8 to 12 inches of rainfall across portions of Louisiana, Texas, and Arkansas, with isolated spots between 12 and 16 inches of rainfall in addition to that storm surge across Texas and Louisiana. Really not looking good if this scenario plays out. And not only does the GFS see this amount of rainfall, so does the European model. But there's one difference between the GFS and the European model. The Euro does move that rainfall a little further to the west, more so into eastern Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, and western Arkansas, and less rain for Mississippi and Louisiana. So now let's time out the hurricane force wind speeds that we're going to see in the southeastern United States from Hurricane Laura. We're going to start off first with the GFS model, starting off at 8 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. You can see the GFS model has Hurricane Laura at around 75 to 80 miles per hour, and with a minimum low pressure at 977 millibars. So let's go forward to tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. You can see Laura gets much stronger, down to 964 millibars, with winds at around 95 to 100 miles per hour. That strengthening continues throughout the day Wednesday. This is Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, with winds right around Category 3 strength and a minimum low pressure of 958 millibars. Now forward one more time to Thursday, very early in the morning or very late Wednesday night. You can expect a landfall in either very southwestern Louisiana or very southeastern Texas, with a very strong Category 2 or a Category 3 hurricane. Now this is the GFS model. Now let's go on over to the European model, which has it a little weaker at this time, up to 980 millibars and with winds right around 75 miles per hour. But watch this. We go on into tomorrow morning, and this system gets incredibly strong. Winds over 100 miles per hour. Millibars drop down to 952, and it just continues to strengthen. In fact, it bombs out now into Wednesday night down to 939 millibars, and this just continues to strengthen all the way in until landfall in southeastern Texas or southwestern Louisiana as a very strong Category 3 hurricane, or maybe even a Category 4 hurricane. So definitely going to have to watch these two models. There may be a slight difference between them both, but it could mean the matter of a Category 2 hurricane or a Category 4 hurricane. Alright, so now let's go on over to Laura's hazards. We currently have risk levels 3 out of 5 for tornadoes, flooding, and a Category 3 major hurricane. Risk levels 2 out of 5 is for lightning, and we may have a risk level 1 out of 5 for wind shear, but that's actually really good for Laura because no wind shear pretty much does not limit its intensification, and with the sea surface temperatures at a risk level 5 out of 5, near 90 degrees Fahrenheit, Laura is bound to rapidly strengthen tomorrow. And at risk levels 4 out of 5 is storm surge, with 9 to 13 feet storm surge possible, over 125 mile per hour wind gusts, with the wind at a risk level 4 out of 5. And power outages, I'm expecting a whole lot of those at a risk level 4 out of 5 as well. The hazardous area is the south and portions of the southern Mississippi Valley. This is expected from Wednesday all the way until the weekend. With over 750,000 residents evacuated, life-threatening wind, flooding, and storm surge, once again, I will be going live right here on TRA Weather with hurricane coverage of Hurricane Laura tomorrow. I will have storm cameras, live HD Doppler radar, National Hurricane Center updates, forecast cones, intensity, and much more. Be aware, be smart, and be safe. I'll see you tomorrow on TRA Weather.